Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Chichi. Thank you very much for tuning in to my channel. Welcome to everyone who's new. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do all to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you want to be the first to know whenever I post new content. For those who have already subscribed, thank you very much. Thank you for the love. I love you too. Thank you so much. Firstly, in this video, I would like to apologize to you, my viewers, you who are following me, for posting this video late. The last time I posted a video was 1 month ago, and well, I would just want you to know that it has been a crazy time for me. I was in the middle of moving from Zambia to the UK, and it hasn't been easy for me. I had to prepare to travel, put everything in place, the traveling, reaching the UK, trying to get used to everything. When I arrived, school was starting like a few days later. All that has been going on, so it has been really hard for me to really get used and find time to start making videos. Now that I'm getting used to the system, at least I've found time. And today I told myself, before I go to bed, I need to do the study in the UK and career plan essay in the same video, seeing that it's 15th October and there are only 2 weeks to the deadline for Chevening. I hope this video will be helpful to someone who's trying to refine their essays, someone who's trying to proofread their essays. Please watch this video up to the end. You may not know, maybe in that essay that you have written, there's a point which you have left out, and in my video, that point is there, and you'll be able to add it and slot it in as you refine and finalize your essays. Please, please do well to watch this video up to the end, and up to the end. You won't regret this. Please, if you're not someone who's applying for Chevening, just send them the link to this video. Help a friend, help a sister, help a brother. You will do well to do that. Thank you very much. See you on the other side. Welcome back, and before I go ahead and give my tips, I would like to put up a disclaimer that anything I'm sharing with you in my video is strictly based on my personal experience and is not the views of the Chevening Secretariat, nor is it the views of the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Well, my video is going to be a bit brief, I hope, because I'm tackling 2 essays, which is why I want it to be, go straight to the point, and I hope I'll make it brief enough so that some of you who are trying to proofread, get your essays proofread and trying to polish up your essays can just brush through and see to it that most of the main points that I'll outline are appearing in your essays, because they are very, very important. Anyway, I'll first start by reading this outline. Why you have selected your chosen 3 university courses, and explain how this relates to your personal academic or professional experience and your plans for the future. So basically what this essay wants you to do is to talk about your chosen 3 courses and universities. Remember that you are supposed to choose 3 courses. It can be from 3 different universities. It can be 3 courses from 1 university, 3 courses, 2 from 1 university, 1 from another university. That is also fine. And one of the main points, the first point I would like to talk about is know your objective. What is your objective? What are you trying to what knowledge are you trying to gain? How is it going to be of benefit to your current career or to your future, in your future plans? How does it fit in with your future plans? So for instance, I'll talk about myself so that my examples and explanation are clear. My explanations are clear. I'm studying international education and Development at the University of Sussex. Two objectives were: one, marrying globalization and education, and my second objective was to really understand education policies on an international level and come back to my country and help in strengthening the education policies, and to help the education system, or to contribute to the education system in understanding education on a global level and how globalization is affecting education. So those were my objectives. So you really need to know what your objective is. So how is your previous study? I did a Bachelor of Arts with Education, and I've been teaching for 9 years. So which is why I still want to continue. But there are some of you who probably you did education, or and then you want to just to study development studies in your masters. Some of you probably did public administration, but you want to do an MBA. You know, people do change, but you can still justify what your academic your academic aspirations. You can still justify them. It doesn't mean that your previous academics need to be exactly the same with what you want to study. You can, as long as your justifications are clear, then there is no problem. So that is the first tip. Understand your objective. What are you trying to gain from the course which you want? The second thing is, I want you to begin to talk about your universities. Remember, in my previous video, for those who watched my previous videos, I made an emphasis on research. Chevening really need, like, for you to be successful in the Chevening application, you need to do a lot of research, especially in the essays, especially in this essay for the study in the UK. You need to do a thorough research on your chosen university. For instance, I chose the University of Sussex, University of Bath, and King's College London. I had to do a total research, because when you're writing this essay, you're going to have to talk about your universities at in depth. You're not going to write a lot of things, but you're going to talk about your universities in depth. How is your objective married to your the course which you want to do, and what is that university doing in line with what you want to do? For me, I would justify, like, all the universities I chose, they are all dealing with education policies. Like, they have done a lot of research on education policies on an international level. They have done like University of Bath. The course was international education and globalization. So this was in line with my objective. I wanted to understand education in a global context, which is directly what the University of Bath is doing. So do a research. What has the university done? The University of Sussex, they have the Center for International Education, and my course is International Education and Development. They are first in the world for development studies. So I used all those reasons to back up my choosing the University of Sussex. I talked about it. Being the first in the world for development studies was one of the first things that attracted me to the University of Sussex. When you're doing your research, also look at the modules. What are the modules offered? Understand what are the modules offered in the course you have chosen. Understand the course in depth, even through by looking at all the modules that the courses are offering. Before I came to study at the University of Sussex, when I was applying for Chevening, I knew that at the University of Sussex, they are offering policy and practice in international education. I read about that module even before. I also read about the theories in international education. So when I was writing my essays, we talked about the module policy and practice in international education. I talked about how I'm impressed by the course outline through the modules that they are offering. I even gave an example, like the policy and practice in international education module. I'm attracted to this module because I will be able to gain such a XYZ knowledge if I study this course, which in turn will be able to give me sufficient skills and knowledge to come back to my country and help uh, sharpen the education policies in my country. So I gave those examples. You mentioned all the three universities, there are some people I know, like one of the current scholars. He said that he just talked about he mentioned the three universities he has chosen, but he talked about his first choice university in depth up to the end of the essay. That was he made it, but for me, I talked about all three universities at an individual level. I talked about University of Sussex, I talked about University of Bath, I talked about King's College London. I put them in one, two, three, the way I have outlined them, and I talked about each and every university and what has attracted me to the university. So do that, do a thorough research. And one other point, one thing about Chevening, they are not only they don't only look at academics. They just don't want people who are only leaning too much on academics. Remember uh, um, the networking essay I talked about. Chevening wants you to network. Chevening wants you to explore. How are you going to network if you're only leaning on academics? Because other forms of networking is by going out there and seeing what is out there. How is the city in your chosen university? So I'm talking practically on what I wrote when I was talking about the University of Sussex in my essay. I mentioned that places that are in Sussex, such as the Brighton Beach and Seven Sisters, I mentioned a lot of places. I also mentioned the British Airways I-360, which is one of these adventurous, like it's a tower. What do I call it? It takes you up. You see the city from on top. It's an exciting thing. I researched that and I saw that in Brighton, where University of Sussex is, those are the exciting things that I can be doing apart from my academics. So I mentioned those places and I said these places will provide me with a place to go and unwind away from my academics. So you can mention such things. Chevening doesn't only want you to go and do academics. What are the beautiful things you're saying? The other thing I mentioned, I talked about I wanted to go to the University of Bath, which was my second choice. I mentioned about the Roman baths. Those are historical places. I said I would want to visit the Roman baths when I go to the University of Bath. I also mentioned about the Westminster Abbey. I teach history. I'm a history teacher. So I said as a history teacher, I would want to experience history firsthand by visiting the Westminster Abbey in London. I mentioned those things in my study in the UK essay. So please do not only stick to academics. So now I want us to look at the career plan essay, and I'll read through the essay question. Chevening is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate plans upon returning home and your long-term career goals. You wish to consider how these relate to what the UK is doing in your country. So this one is so clear. Basically, what Chevening is looking for is just for you to tell a story about your career plan. Where do you see yourself in between completing your master's program and 10 years? So that's what Chevening wants to hear from you. So I would advise you that tip number one is divide your essay in three parts: immediate career plans, mid-term career plans, and long-term career plans. So in that way, you easily explain and have a concise story, or your writing will be so clear. So for me, my immediate plans, I basically told them, I like giving practical example on myself because it's my experience, it's easier to tell. So I talked about how immediately I returned from the UK, I would like to continue where I left off in my teaching job, especially because I had realized that there are certain gaps and inadequacies in the school that I teach and in most of the schools in Zambia when it comes to continuous professional development programs, which are implemented in schools. So I mentioned how I would like to use these platforms to teach my fellow teachers, or to share the knowledge that I would have learned with my fellow teachers, or with regards to the course that I was doing in the UK. So there are different skills and knowledge. There are different skills, and there's a lot of knowledge that I would have amassed by the time I complete my 1 year, which will give me a good head start to contribute towards the CPDs in schools. So that was my immediate plan. Like, I really explained it in that way, and I talked about it when I was explaining. I didn't really mention the specific time, but in when you look at my essay, it will really be clear that I would want to achieve this career goal within 1 to 2 years, or 1 to 3 years. So then when you go to your midterm plan, talk about where you see yourself between 3 to 5 years, or maybe 2 to 5 years. Where do you see yourself in your career in during that period, 3 to 5 years after you complete your master's program in the UK? I talked about how different organizations in my country are contributing towards achieving quality education. They are contributing towards straightening up education policies in Zambia. I talked about institutions such as UNICEF, UNESCO, and different projects that they are running. I mentioned how I would love to be part of those projects, how I would seek opportunities to be part of those projects, so that I am able to implement what I would have learned in the UK. So that is where I was seeing myself in three. I'm seeing myself in 3 to 5 years, and that is how I explained. Talk about such things. When you just be tell your story, it's so simple, and it may sound very hard, but in the essence it's just simple because it is your story. If you are talking about someone else's story, it's very hard to put it on paper, but if it is your story, it's easy for you to tell. Then in my long-term goals, I mentioned how I aspire to be an education consultant in the next 5 to 10 years. By that time, I would have amassed sufficient knowledge and skills and experience for me to be able to do the education consultant job adequately. I talked about how being an education consultant, I would contribute in different education sectors or different education institutions in my country, um, and by helping to achieve quality education and to straighten policies, to contribute in policies, which is in line with the study that I would have done in the UK. So I really mentioned, like, that's how I outlined my career plan essay. But the second thing I would want you to notice, there's a part at the end of the essay which says, at the end of the essay question, which says, you wish to consider how these relate to what the UK is doing in your country. Please do a thorough research on what the UK is doing in your country. Know what the UK is doing in your country. These things are there. You do a research. For me, I researched and I found out that the UK has been running a program called Connecting Classrooms, which is a professional development programs for teachers, head teachers, and learners. So I related it to my wanting to contribute in the CPDs in schools. So the UK is running such projects. So it's so much related to what I intend to do, like one of my career goals. The other thing is I also explained how the UK has funded the Zambian education sector with about £7 million. Is it pounds or dollars? One of the two. But how it has funded, and it is going to it's going to renovate secondary schools and also build secondary schools in rural areas. So I mentioned all that because all that is in line with my objectives of uh, helping my country to attain quality education. So I mentioned all that. So do a thorough research. Then the third tip I'm going to mention, there is the best method you're going to use when you're writing your career plan essay is use the SMART method. SMART: S specific, M measurable, A attainable, R realistic, T time bound. Be specific when you talk about your career goals. Specify what you want to be. In 5 to 10 years, I aspire to become an education consultant. It should be measurable. Talk about how you when like how when you contribute in so and so you'll be able to achieve so and so. It should be attainable. It should, when we say attainable, it is something that you know that when you do it, you're able to attain it. For instance, I talked about contributing to CPDs when I return, which is something I know I can attain because I'm already a teacher and I already take part in CPDs. When I come back, this is something that I can still attain. It should be realistic. Be realistic about it. You can't talk about when you return home immediately, you want to become the Minister of Education. Is that realistic? No, it's not. So be realistic when you're talking about your career plan. How can you become the Minister of Education immediately you come back? It's you and I know that some of the things are not realistic. And time bound. When we talk about time bound, I was explaining how I was talking about the years, how I in 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. You should be able to explain how the time period or the time frame in which you'd want to achieve your career goals. One other thing I can tell you is the SMART approach. You can easily Google it if you really want to understand it better. I hope I've done a good job, but if you want to know more about the SMART approach, you can Google it, you can research on it further. You can also, if you're not clear about anything that I have mentioned in this video, please do not hesitate to put a comment in the comment box and I will surely answer, which I always do. So please, thank you very much for watching this video till the end. Thank you very much for being with me. If I can tell you, I'm shooting this video after midnight. I just said I have to do this for my people because I've been so busy running up and down, exploring the UK, trying to settle, trying to get used to the system. School is demanding, so I'm guilty. I delayed to post this video, but I hope it has been of help to you people, or it will be of help to any person that you know, or it will be of help to anyone in future. Please do well to like, subscribe for this channel. Please hit the notification button. Please reach me out on my social media handles. I'll surely answer you any question that you ask me. Please don't forget to subscribe. I'm emphasizing. Thank you.